Have you ever wondered why some people achieve extraordinary success while some people remain mediocre? Well, today I will show you why obsession is such a crucial part of becoming better than just better. So let's get right into it. So in this video I will be covering three main topics, which is how obsession transforms obstacles into opportunities, how obsession makes you dominate, and the last tip, which I think is the most important, is how to find your obsession. So that's a quick story that I want to tell you. So when I started out playing table tennis, I never really improved that much, and I always had this kind of love for table tennis, but it wasn't really an obsession yet. So there was a point where I got stuck at table tennis, where I just simply didn't improve anymore, which was so frustrating because even though I didn't have an obsession, I still really wanted to grow in the sport. And that's when I suddenly realized that all of the great players on this planet in table tennis have an obsession. And it makes totally sense, because as soon as we are obsessed with something, we always constantly think about it, which means that we will seek opportunities instead of obstacles. Because a lot of times it's actually our mindset and our mind that is actually the hindrance towards our goals. Because you will just keep coping with saying things that actually makes it harder to achieve the thing that you want. So for example, with table tennis, I clearly remember that I thought that I needed to train 5 times a week to become better. I think that's a good suggestion, right? But then as soon as I said that, my brain started to cope and saying things like, oh, but you don't have time, or recovery, oh, you know, the muscles need to be recovered. It's fucking table tennis, bro. Like, of course it's still hard physically, but it's not like bodybuilding. It's not like you have to recover the day afterwards, as long as you, of course, don't do like a 5-hour training session in one go. So that is why I realized that when you have the obsession, you seek opportunities instead of obstacles. That is why it is such a crucial step that separates the best from the great. So there's a little bit of action step that I can give you. And it's to think about a time where you saw somebody being obsessed at something and beat you. Like, I don't know if you're doing any sport or some kind of competition, but if you can just remember a time where you clearly saw somebody with like burning eyes, like somebody who wanted to kill you in that competition, basically who was obsessed. Think about that time and try to think about why it worked so well for them. So that was the first step that we wanted to cover. So now let's go to the second part, which is how obsession makes you dominate. So I will take the table tennis as my stories. That is the things that I have the most experience with. So I was at a tournament and there was somebody I played against who didn't even really greet me properly. But I don't think it was because he wanted to be disrespectful. I just think it's because he had so much like focus on the game that he just didn't even think about that he had to greet me. He just thought about how to defeat me, how to dominate, how to win. And clearly, as soon as the game started, because I was in this kind of nice mode where I was like, oh, you know, let's have a good game. And, you know, I was not in the like battle war mode. And all of a sudden, I was just behind like 5-0. And I was like, how the fuck can this happen? And I am 100% sure that it's because he had this burning obsession and desire to defeat me. So he didn't think about anything else than that. He was so determined that you will understand, is locked in. So he was locked in on this thing. Basically, locked in means that you are in the zone. You are ready to fucking dominate, and you are doing it. So that's when I realized that if you don't have obsession, you might as well just take the train home again. Because as soon as you get a match, get matched up against somebody who has the obsession, you will lose all the time. And of course this makes sense, because whenever you are obsessed, if you can relate to being obsessed at something, like I'm obsessed at table tennis right now, which means that I do more intense training and I do more frequent training. So not only do I train more, but I train with more intensity, which of course means that I get better improvement. When I get better improvement, of course I become better than my competition, which means that I will win more. So of course obsession is just crucial for success. Okay, perfect. So let's go to the last and the third step, which is most important one in this entire video, and that is how you can find your obsession, just like I have found mine. I always thought that I was obsessed with football, so I have been training and going to football as a sport for 7 years, I think. So from when I was young, a little kid, till I was 13 years old. I don't want to do the math, so you can do it yourself if you're interested. But I always thought that that was the sport that I wanted to do. But when I was younger, I actually didn't like a sport where you was a team, because I never had this teamwork, talent. Because I always hated being told to do something. So whenever somebody told me to not do the thing, I always wanted to do the thing. So it was never the space for me. Like, I always had good skills in football. Like, I was pretty fast. I could shoot with both feet just as good as the other. So I had some good talents, honestly. I wasn't great, but I was still good at the sport. And I could probably have taken it to the next level if I wanted to and train harder. But I found it table tennis instead. And that's where it all changed for me, because that is a sport I truly fell in love with. Table tennis is where it's 1 against 1. So if you lose, it is your fault. There's no other excuses. We may bullshit saying that it was luck. That is something that we table tennis players do a lot. But the honest fact is that it was our fault if we lose. And that's what I love about it. It's constant feedback to myself and how I can improve. That is why I became obsessed. I found out what was my talent and what I was interested in. So that is why my action step for you is also to think about the best comparison that I can make to find it is that an obsession is like a crush. So when you have a crush, you always think about it. You constantly think about her. The same thing with an obsession. I constantly think about table tennis. I think about table tennis when I shit, when I shower, when I brush my teeth, basically all of the time. Which means that when I sit in my classroom in school, I literally just search table tennis. I just have to watch some kind of table tennis content, or else I'm gonna feel bored. So that is how we find our obsession. What is your crush right now? That is the action step that you want to ask yourself. What is your crush right now? What are you constantly thinking about? That is such a powerful method. And then also, if you can't find out what your crush is, then think about what are your talents. So what are you good at? That is also a huge question to ask yourself, and a very important one to ask yourself. So that was the video. And one thing that I want to say before you leave is that today's effort makes or is it shapes tomorrow's success? I think it shapes tomorrow's success. I don't remember what I've written down. But yeah, if you like this kind of content, then go down and subscribe so you will get these videos every single day so you can improve as much as possible. Thanks for watching and have a wonderful day, bro.